Review of 1C Rarus Lombard Software Edition 4.0. Let us consider the scheme of accounting in which we can see the sequence of moves in the program. First of all, we create the pawn ticket forms. Then, we fill in pawn tickets, indicate objects and pledgers themselves. A pawned object can be a piece of jewelry, electronics, smartphones, cars, or any other thing that is in demand and that will be easy to sell. We form cash documents on the basis of the entered operations on the pawn. Interest is calculated automatically. We can generate reports on the work of the pawn shop as a result of all performed actions. Let's consider the work of a pawn shop in more detail. For example, a client comes to us and asks to pawn two collateral items, laptop and a piece of jewelry. We open the main workplace of the pawn shop worker. Since it's not the first time he comes to us, we make client selection and find the client we need. If there were a lot of pawn transactions for this client, then there is an opportunity to make a selection by the status of the pawn for your convenience. We proceed to fill the operation of the pawn, where we indicate the full name of the client, interest calculation scheme. We set the option of charging for a pawn, charge for a past period or an upcoming period, and you can also set up each type of transaction separately. Specify the term of the pawn by default. Specify for what internal of loan amounts this scheme is available. For example, when one scheme is used for loan amounts less than 5,000, another is used for pawns for more than 5,000. You can specify the interest or amount for the loan, for storage, for the delay. If it's necessary, you can set up a schedule of interest charges. For example, from the 1st to the 30th day, 0.16% is charged. And from the 31st day, 0.23% is charged. The schedule of interest charges is convenient to use in promotions for the customers. For example, when you need to specify that the first days of the loan are free. The percentage of charges can be set from the loan amount, assessment, debt. Interest can be accrued for different periods. For example, daily, once a week, or once a month. The program will automatically generate interest according to the previous specified scheme. The amount of accrued interest can be obtained immediately upon pawn or redemption. You can set the duration of credit accrual before the expiration of the loan, before the end of the grace period of the loan, before the closing of the ticket, or before the transfer to the sale. You can set the minimum number of days to pay the pawn. For example, if you set the minimum period of 5 days and the client came after 3 days, the charges will be still retained for 5 days. You can set up a minimum amount to pay the pawn. For example, if you set up a minimum amount of $14 and the charges amounted to $11, the charges will be still withheld in amount of $14. You can create several credit schemes. For example, one interest accrual scheme for regular customers and another one for new customers. Or a preferential loan scheme, which is used in promotions for customers. In addition, you can specify the rules for rounding charges and set preferential conditions for early redemption in the settings of the program. Next, we indicate the pawned objects. Each type of objects has its own settings. For example, the first pawned object is a laptop. A pawn shop employee examines and evaluates a laptop, indicates the brand, model, condition. He adds an existing photo of the pawned object or takes a photo using a web camera. He saves all the necessary documents in the descriptions of the pawned object. For example, if it's a laptop, then we can attach a warranty and a check for it. In addition to the laptop, the client pawns the jewelry. There are some available settings for jewelry, such as metal, the cost per gram, total weight. You can connect electronic scales to the program, and after weighting the jewelry, the weight will be displayed in the program automatically. If it's necessary, we specify the pollution in percentage or in grams, as well as inserts. For example, it can be precious jewels. Further, we indicate the status of the object, the valuation amount, the amount of pawn, and the description of the object. After the credit scheme has been indicated and the pawned objects have been added, we can see a preliminary calculations of the accrued interest on the selected loan amount and date. In this case, the pawn shop may, at its discretion, issue a sum less than the calculation was made. Cash documents are generated and can be printed immediately. If the client is satisfied with the loan amount and interest, the client signs the contract and receives a pawn receipt. If it's necessary, the contract and pawn receipt can be edited. A client comes to us again in a week, he can pay only part of the charges. There isn't enough money to buy at least one pawned item. The operation renewal of pledge is suitable in this case. We can extend the pawn with two options. The first option is at the expenses of repaying the charges. The second option is at the expenses of repaying the delay. And since he comes before the redemption date and we still don't have a delay, then the option repayment of charges is suitable. We specify the term of renewal of pledge, the number of days for each client wants to extend the pawn of which there is enough money. If the client wanted to change lending terms, we could use the repawn operation. We can use a different scheme, thus changing the terms and conditions of the pawn. After some time, the client comes to redeem, but he doesn't have enough money to buy all the things that he pawned. Therefore, he redeems one of the pawned things. For example, a piece of jewelry. Partial redemption operation is appropriate for this example. The loan amount is reduced by the amount of redeemed pawned object. The client pays interest accrued earlier, and the subsequent interest will be accrued on the remaining amount of the loan. If, in this example, the client would like to change the interest accrual scheme at the partial redemption, then we would choose the operation partial redemption with repawn. In this operation, the loan amount is also reduced by the amount of the redeemed pawned object. The client pays the accrued interest, but the subsequent interest will be calculated under the new credit conditions. Then the client comes to buy the remaining pawned object. We create the operation redemption to do this. This is an operation in which the client pays the accrued interest and debt and returns the pawned object to himself. At the end of the grace period, the client didn't come to redeem the second thing. The pawn shop has the right to sell it. The program creates the operation sale to do this. According to the program settings, you can specify which of the percentage will be included in the sale value of pawned object, thus forming the final sale price. If you need wholesale, that is the implementation of things from different pawns, you can use the preparation documents for sale. You can choose the right object, immediately generate sale documents and cash documents. The pawn shop can organize the auction to sell the objects that are not redeemed. The program has a bid announcement document in which we create lots for pawned objects. After that, we create an auction. This document lists the lots and bidders. The winner who is sold the object is determined according to the stated prices. At the end of the auction, we can print the final protocol, in which we can see the winner of the auction and his declared price. The manager can see various reports on the balances and financial activities on the pawn shop in the program. For example, in this report you can see the amount of money on the pawned object, the amount of interest accrued, and paid interest. In the next report, we can see the pawned objects not redeemed in time, which can be sold. Additional opportunities for pawn shop. You can send reminders about the pledgers' birthdays, the date of redemption of pawn tickets, the sales date of pawn tickets, pawned objects, and others. There is a free mobile application, Pawn Shop Personal Cabinet, which allows delivering information of all pawns of your customers directly to their mobile phones. Remind about the upcoming payment terms, deliver messages about the current promotions, and news of your pawn shop directly to the client's mobile device. There is a site of the pawn shop for pawn shops. You can post information about the best offers, terms of loans, and contract information on the site. Thank you for your attention.